Okay, everyone, welcome to the Unilogin developer workshop today. So Unilogin is basically bringing a Web 2 experience to the web, but I think Marek and Alex can give you a short introduction of Unilogin, then we can perhaps have the participants introduce themselves if they want, and then we will walk you through a product demo and show you how you can integrate Unilogin with your
Absolutely.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for introduction. My name is Marek Kirejczyk. Together with Alex, we co-founded Unilogin. Over and over again, we've seen working in the blockchain space a couple of years ago, we've seen the same problems with usability and how hard it is to onboard new users to the apps, blockchain application built on top of blockchain. And so we decided to start Unilogin. You can think about it as a smart account for blockchain. It's easy to use, secure, and very powerful. And we'll tell you all about it today. Alex, would you like to say a couple words about yourself?
So hi everyone, I'm Alex from Sunday. I helped launch Ethereum network. During that time, we were able to really see how hard it was to develop a good UI in Ethereum. And then that's I met Marek and we decided to try to be that person, to be the library that helps every developer solve UI for Ethereum.
Okay, great. Should we maybe continue with the short introductions of the participants? Maybe Johan from Liebdau, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Johan, and together with Keno in Liebdau, we have a client. It's kind of like a micropayment network for movie rights. And yeah, we're exploring Unilogin in that context. So we have needs like onboarding, permanent. Right now, we kind of give them a burner account, but we kind of need to transform this into a permanent account. So that's obviously the most interesting stuff about Unilogin, kind of the device management and the backup and so on. That's it.
Okay. Then maybe Matteo, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I am Matteo Tambusi. I helped organizing ETH Turin, and I'm interested in these products for my own projects that apply to urban farming communities and audio communities.
Cool. Thank you. Maybe Sid, do you want to say
sure.
some words?
So my name's Sid. I'm based out of Australia. Working with, I'm working on my project called Maple. So we do under-collateralized lending on the Ethereum blockchain. So I'm interested in the project as a way of reducing friction for onboarding our users.
Cool. Then another project is Diora here with Simon and Victor. I don't know who of you wants to give it a go.
Hey, yeah, I'm Simon. I have a product design background, so Unilogin is especially interesting for me because I'm super interested in the topic, from getting more user experience and better user experience on dApps, and especially in the blockchain space and any kinds of applications at the end. And we in Diora, we also need a good solution for that. So we're looking at different kinds, and yeah, Unilogin seems pretty promising for us. So I'm super interested in what we learned today.
Thank you. Then there's Jason from South Africa and Wildcards.
Hey everyone.
Project.
Yeah, so of course Wildcards aims to be the most user-friendly app possible. The goal of Wildcards is to raise funds for wildlife conservation, and to do that in a fun and engaging way. And we've used NFTs and various other economic mechanisms to make that possible. Currently, we have a variety of login options. that are kind of off the shelf. So of course there's the MetaMask, but then there's Taurus, Portus. There's a few others that I'm not going to list all, but yeah, I really look forward to learning more about Unilogin, because any way to make that process easier for our users who aren't familiar with Web3 will be great. So looking forward to this.
Awesome. Maybe Ram, do you also want to say something about Accelerator Frankfurt?
Sure. Thank you, Leon. So great to see you all here. Basically, I'm the founder of Accelerator Frankfurt. Unilogin is one of our portfolio companies. We are running now our Wave7, fully online, fully live stream. And we are fully focused on blockchain companies. Now it's the final week of the Accelerator program. On Wednesday, basically 5 of our companies are going to pitch to about 150 investors, including Unilogin. You're very welcome to tune in. It's at 4 p.m. CET in Frankfurt this coming Wednesday. And I'm very proud to have worked with both Marek and Alex. It's been amazing to see you guys progress. And this is your session. I don't want to say any more. Please take it from here. Thank you. Thanks, Leon.
Thank you for the introduction and the kind words. Can you see my screen? I put it on a full screen. It should say Unilogin Smart Account for Blockchain.
Yep.
Yes? Okay,
yep.
Wonderful. Good. So let's start with the general problem that we solve. Like when you build a DApp, and situation has changed a lot in the last 2 years, because we have more and more attractive DApps that bring substantial value to end customer that could not be bring outside of blockchain. So we have the whole DeFi space, we have some interesting gaming stuff, and so on and so forth. I'm not getting into that. But it happens that it's really difficult to grow those applications, to grow those user bases for those applications, because it's so hard to use blockchain applications. Because there's a lot of things that are difficult for the new user. It's difficult to create an account. It's difficult to understand the security model. It's difficult that there is no customer support I can call if something goes wrong. And it's difficult to understand fees. It's difficult to understand all the different kinds of assets. And moreover, what we discovered as we were building blockchain, as we were building Unilogin, it's kind of difficult to build blockchain applications too, because now you have not only this good old web model, request response, front and backend, or mobile kind of application that communicates with some kind of backend as well, but you have like multiple parties with blockchain, with transactions, with delays, with all kinds of security aspects, like front running, like waiting for transaction, reacting when the transaction fails, and so on, etc. So therefore, what we're building is a smart account. So we're building something that on one hand can bring this familiarity back to Web3, bring this Web 2.0 experience with all kinds of like two-factor authentication, with something that is easy to onboard, something that you can perhaps use email to recover or confirm transactions. And on the other hand, it's a ready SDK that takes all the burden of building up all of those elements from the hands of the app developer. So I'll show you a quick demo. So this is OpenSea. OpenSea, we're working with them to integrate, and OpenSea is a market for ERC-721 for fungible tokens. So if you want to unlock your wallet, all you have to do, so maybe I'm going a little bit too fast, so I will slow that down. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use OpenSea for the very first time. We're gonna click unlock your wallet, and when we do, I cannot pause that. That's gonna be very annoying. Can I pause that? Oh, I think I can. Wonderful. So I don't have an account, so I have to create an account. So in this particular case, we're gonna assume we're gonna top it up with an existing crypto account. In a moment, we're gonna show how it would exactly look like for the user who had never ever had had an account before. And let's say we're topping up this account. And what we're gonna see happening in a moment is we're gonna have an account that is already created, and we can use it to do things on OpenSea. Let's confirm. Okay, we're confirming. We can see instantly we got notifications. So this is one of those little things that are super annoying when you work with Ethereum. Is it takes forever to mine the transaction. But we will tell you, we give you instant feedback right when the transaction is in the mempool or incoming. And when we do, and when the transaction gonna be mined, we go straight to the application. So as you see, it was fairly simple to create an account. Now, many applications want you to design a transaction. So they want to, to design a message. So to confirm that it's your account. So that's the case for OpenSea and many other applications. So when that happens, the fairly informative pop-up shows up, and you can just click sign and you can move on. Good. And now that we already created an account and we top it up, we can use it to buy. Oh, I think it's the same one. We can use it to create to buy a CryptoKitty. Okay, so we're opening a CryptoKitty. We can click buy now. This one actually you can claim for free. You still need either on your account to pay for the transaction fee. I did it again. Click too fast. Can I get control back over? So I want to stop a little bit over here. So when we click buy, the confirmation dialog shows up to confirm whether we would like to confirm the transaction, and we can choose if it's cheap and fast, and we can see what the balance is and what the cost is, so you know what the balance is gonna be after the transaction. And then you can click confirm, and again the dialog will appear, and again we're watching the mempool. So once it's in the mempool, we already know the transaction is in progress, and once the transaction is ready, we can see the CryptoKitty. Does that make sense so far? Are there any questions? Questions? Controversies? Was it easy or hard so far?
Easy.
No controversies? It was super easy, or it was super hard, or it was kind of in the middle.
Can you hear me?
I can hear, yes.
Yeah. Hi. I have a question. What would happen if the first transaction when you create an account is being mined like for like a week, like it was last week on the mainnet Ethereum?
Yeah, well, that's why we already give you this fast and slow options. When the slow is like already fast, and fast is even faster than that, to kind of avoid those situations.
Well, but that doesn't really solve the problem if you have high gas costs. So,
why would you say so? Because it's expensive for a
user,
or
yeah, but and it doesn't really give the user any control. That it
over the transaction. So
over the transaction fees.
Yes, so there is so transaction fees altogether is quite a complex topic. So, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it in a moment. So maybe let's do a demo. Then I'm gonna show you a couple more examples, and then we talk about transaction fees, because that's gonna, the transaction fees is a strong focus of ours. So there's going to be more about it, and gonna be easier to explain. So in that case, I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna switch sharing to the code. So we prepare a small demo. Can you see it? Should be HTML. So it's super easy. We on purpose make it as easy as possible for using, so that we can focus on how it works. So it's a dumb HTML site, no more JavaScript than what is here. we are including a script here, which is Web3. And we are including here a Unilogin, which is a library that represents what we do, that allows to access our technology. And both are taken from the CDN, could be NPM. Maybe I'm gonna increase the font size because I see some people are looking closer to the screen. And then we create Web3 basically the same way we would always create Web3. So if you ever created a Web3, you just create a new Web3. And as an argument, you give a provider. And here, instead of giving MetaMask provider or any other provider you would give him, or default window provider or whatever else, we create a ULE frame provider. And we just, and the simplest configuration requires only the name of the network. So it can be mainnet, Kovan, Ringby, and so on. So that's it. We already created a Web3. And so this is first crucial line, second crucial line, and a third line. And the project is configured and ready to go. And this is probably all the documentation you're gonna need to start working with Unilogin. And then we created an input. Input is just a receiver address, and then we have a button. And when the button is clicked, we send transaction. And the transaction is standard web3.if send transaction. It's a call on the standard method on Web3. And we send it from our account to an account that is put in the input one line, that is one line above, and the value is, let's say, I think it's 0.01 Ether. Does that make sense so far? Any questions about the code? Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing this one, and I'm gonna share my browser now. So this is how the demo look like. As you can see, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So this is my Chrome. So I should be able to use MetaMask here. I'm on the Kovan network, as you can see, and that is in line with what we have in code. We initiated the provider for the Kovan. And
sorry, Marek, I think you're not sharing your screen anymore. I mean, okay, I can see your face.
Let's try again. Chrome. Sure. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's back.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So again, very simple application, just one input box, just one button. There is another button over here. That's the same application we saw a moment ago. And if we happen to have a MetaMask here, but it could not be here. It's not needed for the application to work. And we're on the Kovan network, as you see. We have some Ether. Unfortunately, it's a Kovan Ether, so nothing we can spend today. Yeah, so I'm gonna just send some money to myself, right? So this is, you can remember, it's 1,003.80. I'm gonna send it here, right? It's an empty application. I went it for the first time in my life, right? And I'm gonna send 0.01 Ether. Well, I don't have the account yet. So, Unilogin discovers that and asks you to create or connect to an existing account. So I can type, let's say, Marek, and I can create a new account. I can top it out with Ether on DAI. We're gonna talk a little bit more about it in a moment, but for now, let's make it Ether. And I can top it out with a credit card or bank account, or with crypto. Again, let's go for a simple flow, which is crypto. So I'm gonna send myself a little bit of ETH, so then I can send it back to myself. So I'm gonna send, how much I'm gonna send? I'm gonna send, let's say, 1 ETH. And let's make it fast. Okay. So I'm sending, you can see instantly, I'm on the Kovan network. Instantly, you can see it's incoming. Oh, now the money, I can see the pending transaction on Kovan network. And boom, we're already here. We already signed, and it asks us to confirm the transaction. That's the transaction I was about to do, right? So I wanted to send 0.01 ETH to myself, which is exactly what's going on. So if I confirm, that's a transaction that's being sent to myself. So how much should I have? 1,003. minus 1 if 1002 plus 0.01 ether. So that would be 1002.81, I think. Let's see. Here we go. Right. So that's it. We went through the whole flow. I can sign something like I had to sign something before, and then I can. That's an operation that doesn't require necessarily any. Doesn't need to create a transaction on the network. Now, here's the problem. If I created this account for the first time, how do I manage my funds? How do I see where my funds is? How do I know how I connect to the account and so on? So we have this button here that looks like a Unilogin icon. If I click on it, I have the whole kind of MetaMask implemented here, right? So I can see my balance. I can top it up with all the different methods. I can, I don't want to top it up though. I can send money around. I can see the list of devices. So now I'm connected just from one device from this particular browser. I can add more mobile devices and increase security, and maybe we will have time to talk a little bit more about that. And I can back up my code. So I can download the code so I can recover in case something happens. Good. So that's I guess just a quick demo to show how easy it is to integrate. The whole tutorial is on the website. It's so easy to use. So we use the CDN version, but obviously you can integrate it with your project with NPM or Yarn. And we make sure that whatever is your favorite technology, JavaScript or TypeScript, do you prefer Ethers or Web3.js, then we give you a ready code to start. As you see, in each case, it's just a couple lines of code. Any questions so far regarding the integration? If there are no questions, then I'm going to continue on the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. So this time I'm going to show you integration with Jarvis Network. So this is the feature we're working on. You can try it on Jarvis, but it's not yet available in our other integrations. So this time I wanted to show you how does it look like if you don't have a crypto and you need to top up your account for the first time. Also, this displays other features that we work on, which is custom design. So this is completely non-Unilogin design. This is just for testing. So we're creating an account. We're gonna do it with Jarek. This time we're gonna top it up with DAI. So this is the new feature we're working on, because one of the things that is kind of confusing is that if I want to operate in DAI, I still need to have ETH. So in this flow, there is no need to even know what the Ether is. And we imagine that in the future, majority of the users will only be using DAI and will not need to know what the Ether is. And we're topping it up using the ramp on-ramp network. And ramp on-ramp network allows you to easily buy either Ether or DAI or several other tokens. And what we especially love about ramp is that, I'm gonna scroll it up a little bit. What we especially like about ramp is it doesn't require KYC because it uses an open banking API. It means you can easily transfer your money. So in this case, we're gonna transfer money using Revolut. So if you have a Revolut application, you can top it up very quickly. So let's do that. We're picking Revolut as a payment method, and we're gonna connect to Revolut. We already, in previous screens, we already said how much DAI we wanna buy. And it's gonna connect to Revolut, or to ramp, to Revolut, and boom. All we have to do is confirm our mobile number, and there's gonna be a PIN involved as well. So it's gonna be, please don't send messages to, it's a real number. Please don't stalk that person, someone on the team. So, and then we can enter 6-digit codes that was just displayed on the mobile application. There was a push notification from Revolut. Okay. Authorize. Still, there are still some quirks in this flow. It's getting, every month it's getting simpler than it was last month. So Ramp is working a lot on simplifying the flow. So now we can go back to the application, and in a moment we're gonna see waiting for the blockchain, blah, 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 connecting. And then we need to confirm. I think we did it like twice for some reason in this demo. Anyhow, we're just waiting for the payment to go through. And when that happens, we are already, I'm gonna scroll a little bit. You can see the demo was recorded a couple days ago with a record high, prices on the network. 51 Wei was the cost. Anyhow, when our application went through, so that should partially answer the question. And then we can go to the wallet, and here we go. And we're gonna see the customized version of the same components that we used in previous demo. Any questions so far?
So it was on the mainnet, right?
That was on the mainnet, yes. Yes. So as you see, it's quite simple, but there are still steps. So would it be possible to make it even simpler than that? So we talked to many DApp developers, and they say, yeah, the transaction fees are kind of making it slow, difficult to understand, and so on and so forth. And some of the DApp developers told us, you know what, I'm willing to pay those fees for my customers as long as they are my customers. So if they're doing transactions, that means we're earning money. So here's a special flow that doesn't even require to top up your account initially. So the way it works is if you have a special key, you can hook it up to your API. And when that happens, the transaction is gonna be paid by developer. So you don't need to top it up at the beginning, and you can have your wallet with 0 ETH at the beginning. And you only need to top it up when you actually want to start doing something. But for many applications, you might want to, for example, sell something, or you might want to receive some money. So you might not need to top it up at all. Good. So the fees you can pay with Ether, you can pay with DAI, or the app developer can pay it for you, so you don't need to worry about it. Do you have any questions now? That's kind of the last demo I prepared for today, so feel free to ask questions, or we can go back to discussions about the transaction fees.
I think another demo that we could show is what Alex used to show in the past sessions, how you could link a new device to that account. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that's
absolutely
cool to see.
I don't have that one prepared, Alex. Do you think you could show that one? Is Alex still with us?
Maybe in the meantime, I could get started on the questions I've taken down. One thing we wondered about is how you're going to deal with the local storage problems with Safari, with them deleting storage after 7 days.
Yeah. So that's a very good question, and right to the point. So so there is a 3 or 4 different kind of aspects to discuss here. So one, obviously, we're generally moving stuff from storage to session, which is not really solving a problem, just making the keys stay a little bit longer. Just to clarify and to kickstart the conversation. So what what we're gonna build next, and kind of the key storage was one of the biggest headaches, and we're still kind of researching what we really want to build. But our main value proposition is that you can connect to, you can store your keys the way you want, in permissionless way, perhaps, or no, depending on your preference. So what we want to do is we want to give the user options at the login. You can either store it on the server using the end-to-end encryption, which means you have login and password, and it kind of feels like login and password. You still need to back up your keys if you want to make sure you'll be able to recover that, or you need to.
Why would you need to store anything else to be able to recover it if you have a password system?
Well, the thing is with login and password is, so there are 3 ways you can implement login and password, right? The first way you can implement login and password is simply use it as a seed, right? So you use, let's say, your password and perhaps email or something else as a base for your seed generation. The problem with that, it's kind of open to a just brute force attack. If you think about, 100% of users, let's say, whatever, 10,000, 100,000 users, then it's going to be really hard to force users to use secure password. Like usually like 30% of the users in the system have very weak password that you can just brute force.
I mean, you could do that with client verification beforehand.
Would you elaborate?
I mean, you're providing a client-sided app. I mean, you could make it necessary for the user to use a password of a safe enough strength for it to be reasonable to assume that it would at least be difficult to brute force.
Could be a direction, and the problem is that it's really difficult. Like, for example, like imagine it's a simple word in Finnish. Like, it's like you need to have dictionaries of all the languages. Like, could be interesting direction, but it seems to me that if you want to go to that direction, you can just back up your keys, like just download your seed phrase.
Yeah. So to add on that, like we can. One of the methods we are trying is actually to try like the use the password, like not to force the user to pick a strong password, but just to pick the password for him. And I think one of the main problems with that, beyond those that Marek told us, is also that you're sort of we don't want to train the user with the idea that the best way to log into random websites is to type his private key on anywhere, right? Because that opens up the possibility of phishing attacks, where I pretend to be a Unilogin website, and then I convince you to type your username and password to recover, and then boom, like you just gave your private key to a website, and I think that's very dangerous. So I really like the idea of using the password as a C, like a strong password, but it must be something very rarely used for recovery. And we still need to have like a more ongoing way to like relog a user. And that's why Marek is explaining like the just encrypted, keeping encrypted private keys.
I mean, I think it really also depends on the application. Like we need something where we are targeting users which don't really know much about Web3, and for it to be seamless. We can't really expect a user to think much about backing up an account he's not going to use very often.
Sure, that's why we're thinking about adding the kind of login and password end-to-end encryption. So it's stored on the server, but still it's your key is encrypted with login and password, right? But what we want to do is you can still, there are some alternatives. So you can, for example, use your Google Drive to store your key. So that could be kind of like login with Google, but it's still kind of, what we would try to avoid, right? We don't want to, we want to give that as an option, but that's something you start with. And then what we want to do is ask you to enable two-factor authentication, which is fairly familiar notion for the people. And then you can do interesting thing, which is add mobile phone, which can store natively, or you can add further down the road, you can add a native application for the desktop for storing the key. And then we can do an interesting thing. We can start storing your password in unencrypted. Well, unencrypted in a sense that we know your private key. But because we have a multi-sig wallet under the hood, we can make it 2 out of 3. So suddenly you can introduce features like confirm your transaction with email and password. Oh, you forget your password, recover with your mobile phone and email, right? So at no point we are able to touch your funds, but at all points you can recover with fairly understandable method for the user. And now finally, for the most advanced users, they can just store all the keys or backups or whatever in the native applications for the desktop and mobile. And that's what we imagine people or hardware wallets.
There's also social recovery. Social recovery is interesting because it might allow you to recover by just selecting a few friends or family as guardians that they enable you to recover. Again, this should not be like the base. This is not an answer to the local storage issue, because I don't want you to have to contact like 3 friends every 7 days whenever like local storage is cleared. But I would like to give you an option in which, if all your other options failed, then you can just contact 3 trusted people and then you'll be able to recover your account.
So the idea is we give you options to have multiple factors of authentication. And the question is, what is the easiest one to onboard initially, which we believe is login and password with end-to-end encryption. But we'd love to hear your feedback on that, since we're about to start implementing it like next week or something.
I can show the demo also of connecting multiple devices if you're ready.
Yeah, I think it would be good. Let's do that, and then we can go back to discussion after the keys.
Okay, so so this is the basic. So this is basically how we connect to 2 devices, right? So you've logged into Kickback in one side, and then all you need to do on the second device on the side is just type the same username you had before. And what's going to happen is that we're just going to do a little challenge of, hey, type this special code that we've seen on the other screen. And after that, that's it, right? All you need to do on the second device is you go there, you type the same username you have, confirm the first device, and then now you're logging into the second. And I think this is very important for the previous discussion also, because we really focus on the idea of non-custodial multisig, right? What we want our users to be as secure is be secure by having multiple keys in multiple places. And ideally, we want one of those keys to be a native app, either on a desktop or on the mobile phone or somewhere that we can be reasonably safe that that's going to be something that's going to like last for a long time, or like at least last enough so that it's not going to be cleared randomly by the system. And I think that's why it's important that I want to encourage you to connect multiple devices in multiple places, to connect your iPad and your laptop and your and everything. And that's why we want to make it easy. And that was a demo. It was very, very short.
Do you have, Alex, the demo with the mobile phone, the mobile device demo?
I have a screenshot of that. I don't have it ready. I can get it on my computer and show it to you.
Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
but it looks like this, right? It basically looks like the same thing, but with like on a mobile phone.
Kenna, does that answer your question?
Yeah, but I mean, I knew how the confirmation for second device was. What I think is still a bit problematic that contract creation costs are high at the moment on the mainnet.
Depending on the gas price, though. Like it was really expensive at the end of the last week.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it's like 15 gwei, we're still talking about a few dollars to create a new account. So I feel like it's not, even if the app developer is paying for it, it is not feasible to do it on the mainnet for every application.
Well, I think for it's under $1. It's around $1 for with the normal gas prices. It was $2 with 50. I remember that our team created a wallet for $2. I think it was $6 or $7 on Friday or Thursday or Friday when the price was really high. So like I don't remember it was 20 or 50. So it has to be way under $1 for if the price is long, right?
I mean, I just tried it out like 2 weeks ago, and like if you go through the normal on ramp through ramp, I mean, like you end up paying as a user. That is what I want to experience. You end up paying like well over €3. I think I paid like 370, and after I paid for the contract creation, I was left with like less than $1 in Ether on my account.
I mean that's possible. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not sure if there is a like we're waiting for those scalability solutions to finally arrive. So
yeah,
I
no,
think the cost gonna stay there. It's just we're gonna be able to push it further down the road. So like you will be able to interact with the application using ZK Sync or StartPay or another kind of scalability solution, and you only at the exit you're gonna need to actually create a wallet, which makes the case for the wallet for those even stronger, because now it's getting even more complex, because now you need to have also ZK Sync or StartPay or maybe Connext, which are, I'm mentioning 3 most promising layer 2 scalability solutions here, right? So we only gonna like it's a broader Ethereum problem. It's not necessarily
no, definitely ours. It's definitely. Something else I was wondering about is how to best customize your experience, because at the moment, if you use the iframe providers, you just have an uncustomized iframe, which might not fit the use case.
So yeah, so first of all, you can build your custom CSS, and we see our business model in giving you customization options. So like building custom CSS, ability to pay transaction fees in custom token, ERC20, and this kind of things. So if you would like to customize that, we're super happy to do a pilot and work on customization. So you've seen in Jarvis, it's completely custom look.
And basically, the idea is that you have customized clients, but like one relayer to connect to. Or...
yeah, I mean, relayer is open source. Feel free to create your own. Does that answer the question? Maybe it was a little bit too fast. So we
I
we
think
give you a working.
Yeah, I think I'm still a bit confused about the documentation of it, especially because it's also like there are like different documents available on different pages.
Yeah, currently we don't have up-to-date documentation, so whatever you saw is probably outdated.
Well, I mean, I saw one from the 18th. I mean, this one is dated to the, what was it? Sorry. It was pretty recently, like, yeah, dated to the 18th of May. So dated to today.
Do you mean like on the README or?
Yeah, read the docs.
read the docs are probably pretty outdated. We just deploy the new version every time we push the new version to the Git. So not necessarily the date is a good indicator of how outdated it is. But yeah, the major architecture didn't change. So the idea is that there is a centralized relayer, but the relayer is open source. So you can create your own.
But it would kind of defeat the purpose if you would have different relayers, right? Because then you couldn't log in through the user couldn't log in through the same account on different DApps.
Oh, they could. There would be some problems connecting device, so that's something we want to solve further down the road. But yeah, all primary features will work.
I think then the other problem we came across is that the wire integration isn't really working well at the moment with them.
Yeah, so we worked quite a lot with Wire and integrated it a couple of times, and there was problems, and I'm not sure what the problems are, and we reached their support multiple times, and last time, when I think like a month ago, it was working. If it's still not working, then I guess we just need to change the.
Well, I think they dropped support for credit cards and.
Well, we had an Apple Pay working a month ago, roughly a month ago.
Okay.
So Apple Pay should be working, but they kind of changing a lot, and I'm not sure what the current status is. And Ramp, on the other hand, wants to introduce support for credit cards in upcoming months. So maybe we're just gonna use that.
Yeah, there I feel like the speeds for a payment to be processed is very inconsistent. Like there could be waiting times differing from 30 seconds to like half an hour the last time I used it, which is not really acceptable for a good user experience.
Do you mean for Ethereum transaction or?
No, for them to process the bank transactions.
For Ramp?
Yeah.
So it's super important feedback. I think we should reach to them and check what's going on. Well, in general,
I mean it's not your problem, but I just want to basically give the feedback of what I got from.
No, and we appreciate that a lot. So it's good to know, and we definitely should check it out. If something like that happens, then shoot us a mail or shoot it directly to Ramp. And in our experience with working with Ramp, they are very fast to respond, and there are always problems because everything is fresh and new. But even within a couple months since the beginning of the year, they improved a lot. So like there was no mobile support, there is one now. There was like the flow was a little bit complex. It's a little bit simpler now. So it's like they're progressing a lot.
Do you have a timeline for when you will have up-to-date documentation available?
Yeah, so we are now finishing the DAI feature that you just seen, which allows you to completely work with DAI. Then we need to focus on the key storage, which is the first topic you touched, and then we want to focus to preparation for the prime time, preparing tutorials and the documentation. If you want to do if you're spending your time kind of researching that, then let us know, and we would love to help you as much as we can to make sure you get all the information you need. That was very, very good questions. Is there another one coming?
I'm done with my notes. Now it's for others.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for all the questions. It was very, very good questions. I'm appreciating you obviously spend a lot of time, playing with it and testing. So thank you.
Are we all done here? I think. I saw Costa turning on his video. Costa, would you have any questions there?
No, I think I got my answers. Yeah, I think the problem is that the use case we want to pursue so far, I'm working with Canon, full disclosure. So we anticipate that like many users will be just probably one-time users, and the payment they are gonna make, maybe, we're not even sure they will pay eventually. It's just like €2 something. So the cost of onboarding is really like important point here.
Well, the question is, how early do you need to have an account? Maybe you only need to have an account the last moment when you actually want to do some kind of transaction.
Yeah, sure. I mean, our application so far is just basically one button, like a pay. So as long as the user clicks on it, we can be pretty sure he at least wants to pay, considers that possibility. Yeah, and of course we want a fiat of on-ramping. That's like a major feature, and we had no success so far with it, but we're playing around.
I mean, how our goal structure would be at the moment is like a user. We're using Burner Wallet, and a user first maybe makes a first payment, and then if he tops up a bit more, we would ask. Our ideal solution would be we would ask him to deploy a multisig using Unilogin, and then transferring his funds into it once.
So what you can do. Yeah, Alex, okay, I think you wanted to say that, right?
I have a question. So would it work for you if you had the burner address, like receive address, and as soon as any money got into that account, we deploy the multisig? Because that's something that we can try, we consider doing, and I would love to hear your feedback. Is that as soon as you type your username, just give already like the user the address of the future address, and you can sort of pretend and use that, and then we only deploy when you actually put some funds on it. Would that solve it for you?
Yeah, I mean, we would want to. At the moment, we're testing around on XDAI, so the actual contract creation costs are less in any case, but that would be pretty cool already if we would only deploy.
So
receiving funds.
There is one technical roughness, let's say, but if you know what you want to top it up with Ether or with DAI, so let's say it's always Ether or always DAI or always XDAI, then you can generate address upfront, and then have that address, and then only create wallet at the very last minute before payment. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, and I think and basically it would probably make sense to add like the burner wallet as a signatory to the multisig, so we could use the workflow of the burner wallet whenever the user just wants to watch a movie and send like a small microtransaction, and to manage his funds, you could just use Unilogin. That was kind of what we thought about.
I think, and we could like if he already have money on this burner wallet, so in one transaction we could kind of transfer that to the new wallet, and I think, yeah, trigger creation of the wallet. So shall we schedule maybe a separate call and try to figure out how to do a pilot together, and with that feature in mind?
That sounds great. Yeah.
If you like, we can connect you if this needs. I'll do my job.
Sounds awesome.
Maybe I would also be interested from people like Matteo Pandolfi or Jason, who already have like running DApps, what you would need from Unilogin to make a decision to integrate with it, or what makes you, if you have doubts, where these doubts come from. like just to understand the point of view of somebody who has a well-established app, you know what I mean?
Sure. I would say from my end, one of the things that we quite concerned about is like fiat on-ramps. So we have briefly looked at ramp, for example, and a few of the other solutions. But at the moment, we haven't done anything custom ourselves. We basically use Taurus have some sort of integration with ramp, for example. But yeah, I would say, you know, it's still not a super smooth experience there, and I don't really have any good way to make that sort of easier. But I think that's probably the biggest thing, you know, to use our platform, you need Ether, and if that's a blocker, you know, we're going to lose potential users from that.
So I think, so that's not necessarily, I mean, we can help in a sense that we can bring integrated on-ramps already, so you don't need to integrate it yourself. And as you see, as people on this call probably already see, it's like there is a lot of on-ramps, none of them is perfect, and just cherry picking the right one and making sure that they keep working is already a lot of work. So that's something we can probably take off the shoulders, take off the hands of the app developers. Well, we see on-ramp market progressing. There was nothing really like year and a half ago, and then it was all very unstable a year ago, and then, you know, it's getting better, but still it is what it is. So I think we just need to keep building our stuff, and they need to keep building our stuff, and hopefully in a couple of months or in a year, it's going to be all stable, repeatable experience, good experience for the users.
Have you had a look at the Circle payment processing API?
We did not. Feel free to.
I mean, basically, you can easily make a conversion from fiat to USDC.
But is that something embeddable? Something we could embed in our flow?
Yeah.
Okay, we'd love to take a look at it.
I mean, you would receive USDC, not DAI, but I mean.
Oh, it's USDC only.
It's USDC only settlement.
I see. Still something worth exploring, definitely.
Yeah, I guess you could have a kind of Uniswap integration on your contracts, and then give that sort of option, I think.
That increased complexity and waiting and all that stuff. So it's already quite complex.
Well, it could be in your, like, you know, for us at Wildcards, we could potentially have that built into the smart contract. So it's one transaction, I guess.
Yeah. So this smart contracts that we're using allow you to squash multiple transactions into one, but it makes it more expensive, and it's already not very cheap. And on top of that, if it uses small gas, it needs, like in the block, like small transaction has a higher chance of getting into a block than a big transaction. So if you're increasing transaction that is already fairly big, that means bigger average waiting time. So that's something we consider, but would like to avoid as much as possible.
Makes sense.
It doesn't mean it's off the table. It's just something we would like to, you know, consciously make decision about.
Something else you could do to decrease costs might be to integrate gas token.
That might be. That should be fairly easy because we have because of the feature of squashing multiple transactions. So that could be, you know, completely orthogonal, like not something we build in, just something you use. So, but we're still focusing on building the best possible UX, the base for that, and then we think about optimizations. And is there any other questions? Anything else we can? Any advice or anything you would like to tell us? We'd love to hear your feedback.
I have a very naive question, maybe.
That's kind.
Thank you. What I'm trying to understand is at what level the regulations at state level create a constraint whether I want to say, talking about fiat onboarding, if I want to extend the fiat onboarding to smart apps, smart payment apps that are maybe popular in a single country. In Italy, we have our own right now, which is basically created a huge cashback market of between, businesses and clients. And so I would love to understand how the regulation would apply to the adopter of Unilogin or to Unilogin itself. So I want to understand where exactly is the gate for that.
So we try to avoid being regulated as much as possible. So there are two main pain points, two main points where two main things that we could do to force us under the regulation. One is on-ramping, so being involved in converting fiat to crypto. So we don't want to do that. There is a bunch of already existing on-ramp providers, and we rather use those than build our own. And the second thing is that we don't want to do is if we would be storing your funds. So at no point we want to be like having your key that would give us full control over the wallet.
Okay.
So as long as we stay away from those two things, I don't think we run into any serious heavy regulated markets.
Okay.
For on-ramp provider, it's different. It's very heavy regulated. It's KYC, it's AML. It's like those startups are 50% technology, 50% legal.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if I missed it. What was your strategy with local storage no longer being possible on
Sure.
Safari?
So basically from the beginning we wanted to give options, and storage will be only the first thing that you do, and then you extend it with other options. Now that storage is not very promising direction for permanent storage at all, what we want to do is give you another default option, and we're leaning towards having your key stored on a server with end-to-end encryption. So it's encrypted with your password, and we store it on the server. And that could be we are the provider for that, but in the future it could be other providers as well. It would be open source as everything with us, and and then give you as soon as possible more options, which is like storing the key on your native mobile application, storing your key in your native desktop application, and so on and so forth. Does that answer your question, Jason?
Yeah, no, perfectly. Thanks. Yeah, it'll be just go back to the next best option after local storage.
Exactly. Which is a little bit unfortunate because we really thought we were already there, and then we need to implement a little bit more. And one option that I find myself very excited about, but it's still kind of in discussion, is so you start with let's say one email end-to-end encryption, one key stored on the server with end-to-end encryption, but then you can connect your mobile phone to the native application, and that gives you two keys, and the third one we can store as a custodial that is unencrypted in the sense that we have an access to it. So then it's 2 out of 3. So you can recover. So you can, for example, confirm with email, confirm with mobile. You can pick how you want to confirm. And at no point we can control your funds. And at any point you can recover if you lost one of those. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfectly. Thanks. I guess that's always the sort of concern with onboarding non-crypto people. Just losing of funds. So
it's a very difficult problem, and if you look at the blockchain as a whole, there are no easy problems there. You know, it's like scalability is hard, onboarding is hard, like everything is hard, and there is a lot of startups working on different kind of angles. So we're really hoping, you know, we're gonna see some breakthroughs in upcoming months, and it's already much better than it used to be 2 years ago when there was no big hopes for scalability, no big hopes for onboarding, and you know, a lot has changed, right? So,
sure.
so we see that in a year or two, like, you know, those problems gonna be solved, which is gonna be,
for sure.
which is gonna be do this or that, right?
All right, everyone. We already exceeded the hour, so let's respect everybody's time. On behalf of Accelerator Frankfurt, thank you very much for joining and giving this valuable feedback for Alex and Marek. I think this was a great session. If you would like to get in touch with them, let me know. I'm happy to connect you. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Tim, we can go on commercials on Twitch.
They're really giving everything they have into the business that they've created and into the community that they are nurturing, and their help and their patience and their enthusiasm was something which is rare and is one of the reasons I think that in the long term they're going to succeed very well here.
I want to thank particularly Maria and Graham, who were great initiatives of this program, and I guess I speak in the name of all participating startups here. Thank you.
I want to say hi to the other countries tuned in. We've marketed this event also in Finland very strongly and in Israel.
I'm going to tell you exactly why, the reasons why you're here and what we're going to get out of the day as well. Please put your hands together for the founder of Accelerator Frankfurt, Mr. Ram Shoham.
Business life, startup life, entrepreneur, it's all about people. Because it is a big day for Accelerator Frankfurt.
I think that it's a wonderful area to actually develop and adopt initial customers.
This feeling that failing is very, very bad. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to do something, you have to have the ability.
I think the unique thing that actually Frankfurt brings is this connection with Israel. We all know Israel is a startup hub, you know, like the second after Silicon Valley. And what we want to do here in Frankfurt is really create a vibrant ecosystem. And for that, I think it helps that we have this Israeli startups coming to Frankfurt, mixing with their own, with crazy ideas and crazy ways of doing things, with a more stable, down-to-earth, German way, systematic way of doing things.
Thanks, VCs, business angels. I think you have the biggest responsibility of nurturing our startup ecosystem. You are the oxygen for the startups.
Maria and Ram, they have a huge background and experience in bringing up startups. So they come from the communities in Israel and Finland, where startup is a very strong community and maybe much more active and dynamic than in Germany, and have brought that spirit to Germany.
No, it's definitely been an outstanding experience, so I would definitely rate it as a 10, for sure.
It would be a 10. Honestly, first program we participated in, but it certainly over-delivered our expectations.
Yeah, it would be absolutely like 100, but if it's a 10,